This is the Unstarving Musician. Welcome to another episode. I am Rabonzo. Happy holidays. How are you? Where are you? What are you wearing? This podcast features interviews with independent music artists and creative professionals who share their experience and expertise on recording, touring, gigs, the creative process, marketing, and much more. I also drop solo episodes like this one to focus on themes from my conversations, research, and off-mic interviews. It's a podcast intended to help independent creatives better understand the marketing, business, and creative processes that empower us to do more of what we love, create works that matter. I suppose it's safe to say that the countdown to 2026 has begun. It's really just days away. In sad entertainment news, actor, writer, producer Rob Reiner and his wife were tragically stabbed to death in their LA home this week, and I mention it because he was an icon of American culture and touched the music scene with his cult classic movie, This Is Spinal Tap. He will be missed. Our hearts go out to the Reiner family. Dean Johannesson, a full-time musician and former guest of the podcast, dropped me a very kind note this week that I want to share with you. He is a subscriber to Liner Notes, and in response to the latest edition, he said, "Another great email, my friend. It took me forever to read and respond, but I saved this as an important message to read, as all of your emails are. You're always doing great work, my friend, and sharing important information. Thank you for what you do." Johnny Bergen also said something really nice to me this week. It must be the holidays. Johnny called me from Copenhagen, where he currently resides. He is coming to Querétaro in March of this coming year. We're going to do some gigs together. He's also a full-time musician, blues player, and has been on the podcast. And in our call, we were chatting about his upcoming visit, and he asked me about the podcast, said it was going good, talked about the shift and liner notes, some shifting that I've been doing with the model of the podcast and liner notes, and he said the newsletter, I'm paraphrasing because I wasn't writing this down, but he said to me on the phone, the newsletter was so good it would make a great book. And we talked about my first book, and he said, it's such a great book. Again, I'm paraphrasing. And he said it was great because it deals with a real-world challenge musicians face, not some guy writing about his recording sessions with Toto or insert your well-known band in place of Toto, if you will. His comments meant a lot to me, and because I look back on that book and think, oh man, I really need to do a second edition. I can do such a better one now. That first one really wasn't that great, but he really made me feel good, and he said that, he did make me bring up my contemplation for a second book. I have so much great material now from speaking with a number of people, including some of you who write in, and also from just doing a ton of research and off mic interviews and things like that. But thank you, Dean Johannesson, and thank you, Johnny Bergen, for the kind words. I really appreciate it. If you are not a subscriber to Liner Notes, you can learn more about it at unstarvingmusician.com/liner notes. We would love to have you, and I would love to have you join the conversation. So the main thing for today is about gratitude. It's the time of year when many of us write about gratitude. Some years for me it flows easily. Other years I have to dig for it a bit. This year it came fairly quickly, but it's mixed with what I'm learning because those things feel very connected right now. Before I get into it, I want to let you know that this will be the last episode until the new year. We're taking a break for the holidays, and the next episode will be on January 2nd. So if you're used to hearing from me every other week, mark your calendar. We'll be back in early January. This has been a good year, but it also included the loss of an old friend. The week before Thanksgiving, a friend I met sometime in the early to mid-'80s passed away. He died in Arlington, Texas, the town where we met, where I spent a great deal of my life, my young life. His name was Glenn. It had been many months since we'd spoken when I found out he was sick, because I called him. But in the end, I just wanted to say I'm grateful we met, and I'm grateful for all the years of friendship we shared, even though they ended too soon. Loss has a way of clarifying gratitude, doesn't it? Makes you stop and actually count what you have while you have it. So today I want to share what I'm grateful for this year, more of what I'm grateful for, but I also want to talk about what I'm learning, because in some ways those are the same thing. Growth and gratitude are tangled up together, as I said, for me right now. And fair warning, some of this is going to be less polished than what I might normally put out into the world. I'm going to ask some questions I don't have the answers to. That's what this space is for sometimes. Let's start with the gratitude list. I'm grateful for 31 years of marriage. Sammy has been a gem in my life. Her support and devotion aren't something you find every day. When I think about what makes creative work sustainable, having a partner who believes in what you're doing, even when it might not make financial sense, even when it takes time away from other things, that's foundational. I'm grateful for our dog Chico. Sammy and I found him in El Valle, Panama, when we were living there. In 2016, we found him. He's a cancer survivor and still has the stamina of a young dog. He's 10 years old now, approximately. Pets have a funny way of teaching you things about yourself, though. I've learned. Chico's taught me about resilience, about not taking good days for granted, about showing up with energy even when life has kicked you around a bit. I'm grateful for the Unstarving Musician community. That's you, the people who listen to this podcast, who read liner notes, who send me messages about episodes that resonated with you, who say nice things about my first book. I've learned so much from all of you and from the many interviews I've conducted over the years. This community has become something I didn't expect when I started, a real source of learning and connection. I'm grateful for my health. I've been thinking a lot about this one lately. I'll come back to that in a minute. I'm grateful for my bandmates and the many musicians I've had the opportunity to make music with over the years. Everyone has taught me something valuable about playing, collaboration, empathy, and about showing up even when you're not feeling it. I'm grateful for my family. They're always there for me, and they make me laugh. A lot of you make me laugh. That's a good thing. I'm grateful for my friends, many of whom also make me laugh. Sometimes being a social creature does not come easy for me, but having good friends really helps. They motivate me to stay social in the real world, not just online, but actual face-to-face connection. And I'm grateful for Led Zeppelin. I mean that seriously. This year I've been thinking about a line from the Rain song. This month, I should say, I've been thinking about it. The line is, "The mystery of the quotient, upon us all a little rain must fall." That line is likely about how life's experiences symbolized by rain are divided or distributed among people. There's something mysterious about why certain things happen to certain people, or how joy and sorrow are allocated in life. Finding your tribe, finding the people you connect with at the highest level, that's a little like solving the mystery of the quotient. It can happen most accidentally. It's like finding your soulmate, but it only happens when you put yourself out into the world. I'm grateful for every accidental connection that's turned into something real. The Unstarving Musician community, my bandmates, the guests who've become friends, none of that was guaranteed. I had to show up, and they had to show up, and somehow it worked. So that's what I'm grateful for. Now, let me tell you what I'm learning, kind of thinking about, and why these things are connected. I've learned to think more strategically about the Unstarving Musician throughout the course of the year. I've come to view the podcast and newsletter with a broader lens. I mostly do this work to help people, but it takes a lot of hours, and it was always intended that the Unstarving Musician be a business so I could keep the proverbial lights on. So I forced myself to reevaluate more methodically during the course of this year. My goal is to better understand what's happening with the podcast and newsletter and what's not happening, so I can make needed adjustments, needed tweaks. And here's what I didn't expect. I'm not sure strategic thinking is making me happier, although I do have moments of excitement and curiosity over it. Strategic thinking means constantly evaluating. Is this episode worth the prep time? Should I gate this content or keep it free? What's my conversion rate this month? It's useful, it's even necessary, but at times it can feel exhausting. I haven't even really begun to think about music in these terms, but sometimes I wonder if all this analysis is crowding out the spontaneity that made this work fun in the first place. The tension I'm sitting with is this: how do I think strategically about the business without letting business thinking hinder the creative parts? How do I track metrics without becoming someone who cares about nothing but metrics? I don't have the answers yet, but I'm watching for little signs, like moments when I'm more excited about optimizing a process than I am about the actual conversation I'm having with a guest. If or when strategy becomes the whole point instead of a tool, something's gone wrong, right? So here's a question for you. Are you tracking so many metrics that you've lost sight of why you started creating? Where's the line between strategic and soulless work? Here's something else I've been thinking about a lot this year. Being a musician isn't getting easier. I've thought a great deal about how hard it is to make it as a full-time musician. Sure, we can make money from our art, but even that is hard and requires a lot of discipline. Many of us are happy enough to pay for our gear with it. A few of us actually pay some of the bills, the household bills. Then there are those of us who have a day job that enables us to make our art, our music, our visual art, whatever that art is. And here's what I've learned from 300 plus podcast interviews. I think having a day job that enables your art might be the best scenario, so long as your day job isn't soul-sucking. The musicians who seem happiest and most sustainable often have other income. Teaching, producing for others, holding day jobs that are completely unrelated to their art. They're not trying to extract every dollar from their music. They're protecting their art by not depending on it to pay for everything. The make it or quit narrative is destructive. It suggests there are only two options: being a full-time musician or being something less than serious. But that's not how most creative careers actually work. I think about my own situation. The Unstarving Musician doesn't pay all my bills. Being a musician doesn't pay all my bills. I have other income sources. Does that make this less legitimate? Does it mean I'm not all in? I used to think maybe it did. Now I think it means I'm being realistic about what creative work can sustainably provide. The question isn't how do I make music my only income? The question is, how do I structure my life so I can keep making music? And in my case, helping other musicians without destroying myself financially. So here's a question for you. What would change about your music if you stopped expecting it to pay for everything? Would that freedom actually make you more creative or less? I mentioned I'm grateful for my health, but I've also been asking myself some difficult questions about it. I think about my health often. I want a quality of life that allows me to be physically and cognitively independent while I'm still among the living, up to the end. Many people will look at me and think, dude, you're healthy, you're fit. And sure, I am, but I need to answer some questions for myself. After a long week of podcast prep, interviews, newsletter writing, I pour a glass of wine or crack open a beer. I should say after a long day. After dealing with frustrating tech issues or disappointing metrics, I eat or drink more than I need. I even do this when I'm rehearsing for a gig sometimes. The recent passing of my friend somewhat exacerbated this behavior. It's not addictive level stuff, but addiction level stuff, but it's a pattern. And I'm starting to wonder, am I processing or am I numbing? The questions below the surface are, if work and life are making me need these release valves, is the work structured wrong? Am I robbing myself of life's truest experience? Should I fix the source of the stress instead of just managing the symptoms? I don't know yet. I might. I think I do. But I don't really. But I'm paying attention now in ways I wasn't before, noticing when I reach for a beer or a glass of wine and asking, am I enjoying this or am I avoiding something? Getting older means these choices compound faster, and recovery time gets longer. The consequences show up quicker. I've got maybe 25, 30 good years left where I'm physically and cognitively independent. What I do now determines the quality of those years. Now, if you're of the age where you figure you've got 50 plus years, good years ahead of you, good for you. And I mean that. You, my friend, can think of these things from the perspective of making conscious choices. But remember, every day is a gift. That goes for all of us, no matter your age. So here's another question for you. What are you using to manage stress from your creative work? Are you celebrating or are you numbing? And if your daily routine requires constant stress management, should the work itself change? I've been thinking a lot this year about what success looks like. Not the fantasy Instagram or TikTok versions, the real life version. For most of us, making it won't mean quitting our day jobs. It won't mean selling out venues or hitting streaming milestones that pay real money. It'll mean something quieter. We're still making music in 5 years. We're not burned out. We're not broke. We're not resentful. That's it. That's making it. I used to think I needed bigger numbers, more growth, clearer wins to prove this was working. Now I think sustainability is the win. Still showing up, still creating, still finding it meaningful. That is success. The music industry and social media sell us the dream of overnight success, viral moments, and breakthrough albums. The reality is most of us will build slowly, incrementally, with setbacks and plateaus and long stretches where nothing seems to be happening. And that's okay. That's actually the normal path. We don't talk about this enough because it's not sexy. Some of you have day jobs and are trying to figure out if you can ever quit them. Some of you have already retired and are making music without needing to pay bills. Some of you are full-time musicians wondering if you made the right call. Some of you listening are full-time musicians and that's working for you. I'm not saying everyone needs a day job. I'm saying we need to stop treating it like failure when it's often the smartest path. Whatever your situation, here's my question. What would making it look like if it wasn't about money? What's the version of success you could sustain for the next 10, 20 years? So that's what I'm grateful for and what I've been thinking about this year, what I've been learning. They're connected because growth and gratitude are so intertwined. Being grateful for what you have means being honest about what it is, not what you wish it was, not what social media says it should be, but what actually exists. We're taking a break for the holidays. The next episode, as I said, will be January 2nd. Until then, I would love to hear from you. What are you grateful for? What are you learning? You can find my contact info on the website at unstarvingmusician.com/contact. If you're a Liner Notes Insider subscriber, this week's edition has the extended version of the thoughts I shared in this episode with some deeper questions about what these lessons mean for your creative work and some things worth asking yourself as we head into 2026. If you're not an insider yet, you can learn more at unstarvingmusician.com/insider. I hope you and yours have the best holiday season ever. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for listening, for engaging, for showing up. I'm Rabanzo. This is the Unstarving Musician. As an independent podcaster, your support means the world to me. You could even say I depend on it. With that in mind, here are some things you can do to help support us. Follow us on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Or shoot me a review by email, rabanzo@unstarvingmusician.com, that I can use on the website. Or just share this episode with a friend. This makes a huge impact on our audience growth. You could also visit our crowd sponsor page at unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn of the many other ways of supporting the podcast, including a quick and easy online tip jar. It's like click, tip, done, easy, and super appreciated. You'll find many ways of showing your support there, including through our affiliate partners like Bandzoogle, Kit, Email, formerly ConvertKit, DreamHost, and others. The music you're hearing is New Gods Part 2, the instrumental mix by yours truly. You can hear the full version, download it, or buy it at rabanzo.com. And if all this was too much to remember or process, just go to the show notes for this episode at unstarvingmusician.com. to find links to all the stuff talked about in this episode. You can leave us feedback, questions, comments, complaints at unstarvingmusician.com/feedback. Thanks for listening. Peace, gratitude, and a whole lot of love.